All right, Michael is inland now, but remains a very strong Category 3 hurricane with 125-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Michael's moving pretty quickly northeastward into Georgia at this point, and while it will continue to gradually weaken, significant impacts will continue to quickly increase across our area through the evening hours and into the overnight hours. At this point, we're already dealing with the tornado threat, so quickly developing tornadoes will remain a concern in and near the tornado watch area, which I will show you here shortly. Significant wind and rain impacts will begin to increase pretty quickly this evening into tonight. And we'll show you the hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings that are unchanged largely from earlier. This is a radar loop, up-to-date radar loop right now. You can see the center of Michael is just about to cross into southwest Georgia. You can actually see a visible eye there on radar still, even though it's well inland. It's located about 30 miles or even less now west of Bainbridge. One thing you will note in these outer bands here, we've had a number of rotating cells that have provided a tornado threat and will continue to provide a tornado threat through this evening as Michael moves northeastward, while the strong wind gusts will be closer to the center of Michael, and those will begin to increase from the southwest. This is a look at one of our high-res models that just shows what I've been discussing. It'll quickly continue to move northeastward through Georgia overnight. Within the outer bands, we can expect that tornado threat as well as gusty winds this evening, and then the strongest winds overnight will be near the center of the storm as it moves pretty quickly up through central Georgia. The hurricane warning remains in place for a good portion of central Georgia. As we mentioned on the earlier call, we included Wheeler and Telfair counties. The area of the tropical storm warning remains unchanged. In the hurricane warning area, wind gusts over 70 miles per hour are expected, and those wind gusts of 40 to 60 are still expected within the tropical storm warning area overnight. Flash flood watch area remains the same across the southeastern half of the area as these rainfall rates continue to pick up through the evening. Here is the tornado watch that has been issued for a large portion of the state until 2 a.m. The tornado threat will be highest and persist in the evening and into the night hours in the outer bands of Michael. We've actually had some tornado damage already reported in at least one of the rotating cells in one of the outer bands a little earlier this evening. So that is obviously one of our large concerns through the evening hours. Wind gusts are beginning to rapidly increase from the southwest as the center of Michael enters the state. We were checking wind observations here in the last 15 minutes or so, and there have been wind gust observations over 80 miles per hour in the Donaldsonville area already. And I expect to see a lot more of those strong wind gusts spreading northeastward over the next several hours. I did want to point out to areas that these stronger winds are occurring. We're actually losing a lot of the wind reports as it causes power and data outages. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're looking at wind reports. This graphic is very similar to what we've been showing you. The real bullseye area down along Americus and Dublin line and southward for the 70+ mile per hour wind gusts within that hurricane warning overnight. And then the tropical storm force wind gusts 40 to 60 miles per hour for a number of areas northwest of there. Widespread tree and power line damage is obviously continuing to be expected overnight, and a lot of this will occur after dark, unfortunately. And sporadic tree and power line damage still does remain possible for areas northwest of the tropical storm and hurricane warnings. This wind speed timing table remains very similar to what we showed earlier. This is actually the most recent update we have, which would have been from 2 p.m. But this is just showing you that we're really starting to ramp up now and over the coming hours as far as wind gusts approaching and then exceeding tropical storm force, and then eventually that hurricane force in a number of counties where we'll start seeing wind gusts over 70 miles per hour. Rainfall totals, still expecting a lot of rain to come over what's already occurred. 3 to 5 inches with isolated amounts over 6 inches will still create some localized flooding issues. So just to sum it all up, it's very much what we've been expecting. Very strong winds are just beginning to enter the southwest portion of the state and will pretty quickly increase from the southwest through the late evening and into the overnight hours. So the hurricane warning remains in effect for those areas where we expect to see those 70+ mile per hour wind gusts, and the tropical storm warning in the areas for the 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And the heavy rain and tornado threat, obviously, we can't discount that, especially this evening for the tornado threat in any of the bands ahead of the center of Michael.